Good morning, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. Welcome to the Twitter Jabs 2, and it's a continuation of the Twitter Jabs 1. Today we were discussing the President's address on the current economic situation in the country, and we brought you all the mixed reactions from social media, from a number of people who felt the President was doing enough and other people who felt that he didn't do anything. Today with me in studio to give you more insight and to help you understand our economic situation is Miss Janet Nalunga, and she's the Executive Director of Southern and Eastern Africa Trade Information and Negotiations Institute in Uganda, and Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe, and he's a political and social analyst, both of who are no strangers to Sunrise at Sea. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
All right, thank you for honoring my invitation, our invitation right here at Sunrise at Sea. Good morning, Dr. Rogers.
Good morning, Sarah, and good morning, viewers.
So, all right, today we are going to be discussing the President's address on the current economic situation. Two things that stood out for a lot of Ugandans, and especially on Twitter, was his two suggestions to our economic crisis. And that is okukekereza and okubyesonyiwa. Do you feel the President addressed the key issues of the current economic crisis? I'll start with you, Ms. Jen. Were you satisfied with what his recommendations were? Because a lot of people felt it is now just it's a hopeless situation and we have nothing to do but to, just ride this tide.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yes.
I think that's a very difficult question.
Yes.
When he talked about being frugal,
yes.
It's like saying cut your coat according to the clothes you have.
Yes.
Which is a very good advice. For me, I agree it's a good advice. But I think it should really cut across, across everywhere.
Yes.
In government, when you look at what's happening today, there is no kukekereza anywhere in government. You look at the administration budget, the burden is so big, when you look at the way the districts were divided up,
yes.
The advisors, there is a lot of leakages in our government, So if he talks about being frugal, it's good, but let us see it implemented everywhere, not just in certain places. Yes. Let it be Ugandan principle that we are being frugal.
Yes.
We are mindful of how we use the little envelope we have.
All right.
But we don't see that happening. And I think that's why we are seeing an inequality. Some people are affording. In fact, some people are asking, is there a problem?
Exactly.
So that's what's causing that inequality. And inequality is growing bigger and bigger. Those who don't have at all. And those are the people who are talking about alternatives of using purple leaves.
Yes.
Yet other people, it's a matter of dumping in a shopping basket, So we need to address that.
All right.
I agree. He was on point. Let us be frugal, but let us see it being done across board.
Yes. And what about you, Dr. Rogers? What are your thoughts on that?
Ono kekes and kuvyesonyiwa.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with Jen. The President, that's a good solution, especially in crisis, but we should talk the talk and we should see him. For example, and people see, of course, it's government who is a planner, and even the top executive. For example, we've been, and I'll talk about the behavior of Ugandans. We've seen here birthdays costing billions of shillings.
That's true.
And you're talking about people okubyesonyiwa. Yet they are seeing a body language where you're celebrating birthdays costing billions of public funds.
Yes.
So which kubyesonyiwa is that? If you are diverting public resources to celebrating birthdays, and but the Ugandans themselves, of course, should also be, like he said, it's our culture. I was just coming this morning. I had to use a boda because of the traffic.
Yes.
But I counted about 30 cars, which every car had one occupant. And this is government not addressing the issue of public transport.
Yes.
Elsewhere in the West, you see people use public transport, buses. The Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, before even becoming a Prime Minister, is using public transport. But here, our culture is that, and the person responsible for that is government. If you're not implementing this, people think, and for me I call it bukopi, that when you when you're being careful, that maybe that is out of standard. With the president celebrating the first family and the first son Muhoozi celebrating all those birthdays, you've seen sort of a birthday spree in the country. People, you see baby reveal, birthday bashes, and some of these people don't have even school fees, but it is coming from the top. What are you communicating to the people? So the whole thing would be, but the president, the economic kind of solution he was giving is true, but they don't see him practice that. They don't see government officials practice that. Even within this kind of diesel, I use diesel. Diesel is about 6,000. Sometimes we abandon the car, but you see ministers being escorted by 9 cars. 10 cars. Even ministers are, I think, copying the president. They have also maybe their toilets and ambulances and their girlfriends, everyone following on the convoy. So we as a nation are not serious.
Yes.
But you remember, you talked about Boris Johnson.
Yes.
You remember during COVID, he had a party. And he was censored in Parliament. How can you be in a party when people are suffering? We have COVID. Remember, it was a big issue.
Yes.
And we were saying, let him go in Parliament.
Yeah, even
his own party members were saying that he's a disgrace. Let him go. How would you start partying where people are suffering? You know?
And this is the thing. He broke his own legislation and laws on, public and social gatherings. It was his own law that he broke, and so he was being held accountable.
Yes.
I like that you have both said that. Well, the 11th Parliament passed the 48.1 trillion budget for the financial year of 2022 and 2023. What does this mean for us? Do you think that the resources or the money allocated to different sectors and ministries is going to help our economic crisis? Do you honestly think that is going to help?
I think when we are looking at the budget, we should go beyond just the figures, you know, because you can see the figures, so many trillions have gone to this and that. But again, I want to link the president's speech to the budget.
Yes.
Because, for example, which is also a good idea, he was talking about replacing the imports, what we are using, the inputs from outside, with locally grown products like sunflower, like castor oil, you know. And he was talking about the palm. I'll come to that later. But when you look at, it is very important really to look at our own inputs which we can be able to grow, you know. When you look at, I saw a statement from the Minister of Finance speaking about the same, about 3-4 months ago.
Yes.
You know, that, you know, the palm oil, Ukraine, we can't export, India is no longer, Malaysia is no longer exporting their palm oil, that we can use sunflower. You look in the budget, nothing has changed. You don't see that effort that let us put money to grow sunflower. You know, looking at that, you know, the entire value chain from the inputs, from this, you know, nothing. Castor oil, you know, castor oil, and soga. Yes. That's when you read about it globally, it's an upcoming product. Because India has been the biggest exporter. They are saying we're no longer exporting, we want it internally, you know. And China wants it. China has ever approached Uganda, and I know China, they are looking around to grow their castor oil seeds. And castor oil is a seed which grows very fast. In fact, in Uganda, we have a saying, "Tiokurango musoga soga," because castor oil is musoga soga, you know. And It also, you use it even for firewood because it grows so fast. But again, we talk about walking the talk. Where? What has been done, you know, to ensure that today we are looking at sunflower, we are mapping out the markets out there, we are looking at castor oil, things are being put in place.
Yes.
So it isn't there in the budget at all. Then two, when you look at, again, walking that talk, the president was saying that Uganda is vulnerable on 3 issues anyway. 2, 1, the dependence on rain-fed agriculture.
Yes.
And he has been talking about this for ages, you know. You don't see anything being done, you know. But again, it isn't just vulnerability to rain-fed agriculture, to even the rudimentary implements we are using.
Yes.
We are still using a hoe. Way back, it was a hoe made by us, Uganda, is it Chillington, somewhere in Jinja. Today we have an imported hoe, you know, but we are still using a hoe. The president talked about environment protection. On the other hand, you are talking about palm oil. That now palm oil, we are giving them more land, you know. We cleared an entire rainforest. Rainforest to grow palm oil. But today we are saying the palm oil is not enough. Should we continue that way? You know? So those are the contradictions we are looking at.
Yes.
For me, I really feel so bad when I see more land being given, more islands being given to palm oil growing. Yet there is an alternative of sunflower, castor oil,
yes,
which can be grown by our own people. They get an income and they can be able to buy, you know. Because the challenge today, by the way, you know, he talked about, maybe we talk about, there are so many things, yes, but the challenge today is incomes at household level, but also at national level. Because at the national level, the coffers are also empty.
Yes.
We are borrowing. So how can we do that sustainably? That's what we should look at. But the budget, government should walk that talk. And when you look at the budget, government walking that talk, agro-industrialization has been given 1.2 trillion only 1.2 trillion, and that's where we have Ministry of Trade, that's where we have Ministry of Agriculture. And when you go deeper into the budget, we maybe would discuss that.
Yes,
there is no money in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and in agriculture.
What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Rogers?
I think, yeah, I agree. It's taking the nation for granted. Yeah, before in 86 to about 96, when the president used to talk these things, he would take the citizens seriously and they would do good homework. But like Jen said, you see, what they are saying is different from what the budget is, what is in the budget. I'll give you an example where, for example, a budget should reflect what is happening on a daily. Right now, people's incomes have been reduced, especially workers. I'm a chairman of Labour Party.
Yes.
What happens is the president says we cannot change anything about salary. We saw across Kenya increase by about 15%, Tanzania 23%. Uganda should be doing the same. When you see, for example, the increment was on, let's say, doubling for the science teachers and not adding anything on the arts teachers. Are they in the same economy? You see unseriousness of government, and because, for example, you have budgets, but when you have such a, for me, which I call like a crisis or pandemic, you can step forward, backwards, and leave out some things. Like, for example, right now, the parish model thing would have been abandoned, not to the extent which they are planning, because we are having a crisis.
Yes.
And more money put, for example, she talked, the president keeps saying about this thing like agro business, but how much money are you putting versus, you see, the supplementaries are going to State House, the military, and then when you are talking, you talk about enhancing agriculture. When even town here, we see people constructing in wetlands. So what are you talking about the environment? When,
yes,
if it's even the public figures, the ministers who are building in the wetlands, and we are seeing it here in town. We are seeing it everywhere.
Yes.
And so basically it's walking the talk.
Yes.
And the government and the public seeing government being serious on what they are saying. But this budget does not reflect what the president was saying in his speech.
All right. And one thing that everybody has been asking for on Twitter is reduction in reduction in taxes, asking for tax holidays and subsidiaries. They emphasized that a lot. A lot of people were saying that. And the president went on to say that doing that would even make our situation even worse. Do you agree with that?
You see, the president was clear about not to subsidize, that to remove taxes on sugar, 193 billion, cement 200 billion, steel about 120 billion.
Yes.
It is true that the reasons he gave about that government would be losing resources anyway.
Yes.
For example, the taxes on fuel, that's a cash cow, you know, and also the issues around smuggling. But again, I think let us look at it across the board, you know. When you look at the tax expenditure report of the Ministry of Finance of 2020-2021 financial year, their own report, it says government lost 7.7 trillion in tax exemptions. The issue of tax exemptions is on the table because government is, although there are tax exemptions within our laws,
yes,
but there are those tax exemptions which are given, you know. You see somebody is destroying the environment, tax holiday 25 years, that one 10 years. And that's one of the issues in the coffee deal,
yes,
which is on the table. Maybe we'll talk about it, yes, also. Tax exemptions are being given right, left, and center, you know. And then you tell us that when you remove on government coffers. So again, what we are saying, let it be across the board. If we say we need money in the government coffers, then let us make sure that everywhere we remove the tax exemptions.
Yes.
And that means that government will have money to provide for what my brother is talking about.
Yes.
You know, but now government doesn't have money. You are saying you are not subsidizing, people don't have money, because the issue isn't because they were talking about UK inflation is high, France
yes,
is high. We know it's high, but they are cushioned. Their systems are working. You go to hospital, the medicine is there. You know, the salaries are okay. You know, you go to schools, the schools are working. You know, I was looking at Europe. Europe has the common agricultural policy.
Yes.
You know, CAP, they call it the CAP. It was put there a long time ago. In fact, they started thinking about it after the Second World War. Because Second World War, it was US feeding Europe. And they said never again, nobody should feed us.
Yes.
So they put it in place. Their farmers are cushioned. They are subsidized. And that's one of the issues in trade which we discuss and say, Europe, if you are subsidizing your agriculture, that means your milk is going to come to our markets very cheap.
Yes.
You know, let us discuss that. But what I'm saying, you talk about inflation in these countries, that it's high, but their systems are working, you know. So let us look at broadly. Don't tell us, don't dump figures on us. UK, what? The inflation is high. Even US. I understand US during COVID, by the way, people were given even direct resources. I know people here who have US citizenship.
Yes.
They were given money.
Yes.
Each individual, apart from looking at clear strategies in place.
Yes.
So for me, what I think really, let us not just look at figures. These people there, we are doing okay. We are not doing okay.
We are not the same.
We are not doing okay. And for me, I wish government, we should sit and look at how we can be able to get out of this situation.
Yes.
Instead of doing blame games. This hasn't worked, and we have been seeing this blame game going on every day, but also things being thrown out. We can do this, we can do that. Let us start walking
the talk.
We have talked, let us start the walk.
Yes.
I think what the president, though he knows very well, like economists said, we're economists, and subsidizing works. What he's shy to say is that you people, given my corrupt officers, if I bring subsidizing, the money will end up in them because they will be selective. So it's what he's shy to say.
Yes.
And also to say, these tax holidays, because you've seen tax holidays being given segregatively. Actually, the people who they call investors, like you saw one, the Italian investor, and basically what she said, the office of the president being involved in selecting who gets a tax holiday is also compromising his integrity. So that's why, though he says there are no tax holiday, we shouldn't do this, some people will get them, and they are getting them. And these people who are getting them are actually the advantaged. So it's though subsidizing is practical here in Uganda because of corruption, because of the system of corruption, it will not be implemented and it will not come out. So basically what he's trying to bring in is economics, and it works. We need all these taxes, yes, but again, how are the taxes being used?
Yes.
And how is it being shared? Trickle down, that system, that money will trickle down to the lowest kind of person.
Yes.
And they will be able to overcome this kind of crisis we are in.
Yes. My takeaway from the both of you is that our government is still employing the old tactics to a new situation that we are in right now. And this is post-pandemic, post-COVID, or rather we are still in the COVID pandemic. So most of the things that they're still implementing to this day are before COVID. So one thing that you said that really captured me, Madam Jen, was that Europe learned to feed themselves. How do we learn to feed ourselves? And a gentleman on Twitter called Prince Obedi said, at H.E Museveni, the problem of high commodity prices, if not handled well, can lead to the collapse of the economy. If handled well, it can be an advantage to the economy. And then he goes on to say, the real solution to the high prices is increased production. Produce more to deal with the shortages. How do we increase production? Because some people are saying you're asking us to increase production, but when the prices of raw materials and putting all of this, the whole production process is high. How can we increase production? How can we feed ourselves?
Increasing production, we are looking at agricultural production.
Yes.
We are also looking at industrial production. I will start with agricultural production. To increase production, there has to be incentives, and an incentive is a market, and a stable market where somebody can be able to sell their produce at a reasonable price. The biggest challenge in Uganda today is that uncertainty of markets. I always give an example of the pineapples. You look at the pineapples today. The pineapples, you get 10 pineapples at 10,000
shillings. Yes.
Shillings on the road here. Then you wonder how much that farmer there is getting, So we need to put a lot of effort and thinking in the way we address the value chains. The other day I was with the ED of the Uganda Export Promotion Board, and I was teasing him that members of parliament are saying they are not giving you any money, you don't have a board, you don't have,
Yes.
But we need to put our systems right, the entire value chain. But I always tell people, we start from the market. Where is the market? And for me, I believe, maybe economists are saying you can't develop from agriculture, but that's what we have. 90 or 80% of our people are in agriculture. So that's where we have to look. So we need to look at the entire value chain. And for me, I think these are issues really which we need to debate. Sarah, what you have said is very, very important, that we are looking at solutions of the pre-COVID.
Yes.
Yet now the situation has really changed. We had COVID, now we have this war. And the war is continuing. So we need, it shouldn't be business as usual. We need to sit and say, what do we do? When you look at the PDM, the Paris Development Model,
yes,
it has, is it 14 or 18 products? It can't be. You know, government can't start looking at all those products. You know, let us be clear. You know, some people were saying about the president talking about cassava. Let people eat cassava. We wrote some time back, about 2-3 years ago, that cassava should be a strategic product in Uganda. Yes. And we give reasons why. One, it's a food crop, food security crop, but it's also an industrial product. You can be able to get ethanol, you can be able to get, if you want to go into pharmaceuticals, you can do all these papers and board, you know, and that's how we should be thinking. The entire value chain.
Yes. And
across the value chain, there are policies which need to be put in place. If you want to produce ethanol and paper boards and promote the pharmaceuticals, what policies do you need to do to ensure that the market is right? So we need to think differently. It's business unusual. And we should have backward and forward linkages between the production, the industry, and the marketing. Take an example of Teju. You know, for me, we need also to rethink our industrialization.
Yes.
The Soroti factory, that's the way to go. But the market is not there. You look at the market, everything is coming in, even our Uganda airline. You are putting there other products, not Teju, and you tell us that the standard is low. Really, you go to Uganda airline, our juice is not there. But this is a factory which is being supplied
yes,
by the local producers.
Yes.
You know, so those are the backward and forward linkages which we need to put right. If we say we are going to sunflower, let it be sunflower. You know, we know that it's going into making soap, making oil, and here we are crying. I can't believe it that we are crying that prices of our cooking oil has gone up. We have simsim, we have sunflower, and it grows in 4 months. We already have everything. But give the farmer the right price. You know, today our farmer producing, you are crying about your workers. But even if the farmers are producing, they don't know the price at all. So let us put all these systems right.
Price, yes.
And by the way, people are crying because of the price of soap, because the income is not there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
My take in supplement to what you're saying of increasing production, like you ask, there are 3 important factors of production: capital, land, and labor. All put effort and equitable distribution to these. For example, deal with land issues. That one, you know, Uganda is having that issue. Government should deal with it seriously. Capital, let it be equitably distributed. And labor. Right now, for example, if we are to gain all from an equitable kind of labor distribution, I will tell you, most, like the richest Ugandan, is the richest Ugandan because of exploiting laborers. And we all know him. Yeah? Because there are no labor laws, he's the richest East African because of exploiting Ugandans. And government is doing nothing. Some of these investors have gone in other jurisdictions like Tanzania, Kenya, and they've been chased away because of strict labor laws. And that is the only thing which will make the money trickle down to the lowest person. Yes. But if you don't control labor laws, you don't put a minimum wage, how will the normal person, the lower person, feel the effect? And that's where we have a problem in production.
All right. So as we wind up this segment, I would like to get your parting shots. I'll start with you, Ms. Jen.
For now, my parting shot is walking that talk. Walking that talk. That's my parting shot.
And what about you, Dr. Rogers?
I'm imploring government as a chairman of Labour Party that they are yet to see a revolution of labourers. You've seen different, because now people know the only way to get it out of government is by striking.
Yes.
And you saw the health workers do it, but we are yet to see more crisis in the country if these things of labour issues as a factor of production is not addressed, and if the arrogancy and carelessness of government does not stop. Workers need their pay, we need a minimum wage, and we need government to walk the talk.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, and that's all we had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. Thank you, Ms. Jen, and thank you, Dr. Rogers, for coming here. Again, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure too.
Yes, and the conversation continues on our social media handles, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And in case you just, tuned in right now and caught us ending this, don't worry. This episode will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and that's at CTV Uganda. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea.